The October 8, 2020 meeting of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals is about to convene. As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, this meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Kathy Williams, and I am the Yarmouth Town Planner and will be serving as moderator for this virtual meeting. I will now turn it over to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Good evening, and my name is Steve DeYoung. I'm appearing tonight as Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I will begin by calling a roll call to determine whether or not we have a quorum. Tom Barron.
Present.
Dick Martin.
Present.
Sean Igo.
Present.
And I myself am present, so that gives us a 4-member board this evening. A 4-member board to those petitioners that may be interested in that. With a quorum present, I will now turn the meeting back over to our moderator and ask the moderator to explain how participation in this meeting may proceed.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted via remote participation. Although no in-person attendance will be permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings. Persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching via this virtual meeting or the live feed on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel. You may also listen to the meeting by dialing into the number provided on the notice of meeting. The recording of the meeting will also be available on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel for future viewing. Please be patient as we work to overcome any technological challenges with the virtual meeting. For all meetings, all audience participants will enter the virtual meeting muted. Participants will be unmuted when called upon to speak by the chair or moderator. All votes must be roll call votes. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself to avoid unnecessary background noise. Do not use Bluetooth or speakerphone devices when speaking. For applicants and presenters, applicants can use the raise hand button or press *9 on their phone to identify themselves to the chair during their portion of the agenda. The moderator will unmute applicants when they are called upon to speak. Applications or presentations provided by the applicant will be displayed in the virtual meeting by the moderator and advanced by the moderator, or temporary panels capabilities may be given to the presenters to share their screens while giving their presentation. All speakers and presenters need to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation when speaking. For public hearings, during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment, the chair will ask who in attendance has any public comments or questions. Members of the public may speak by selecting the raise hand button or press *9 on their phone and wait for the chair to call on them. As an alternative to making comments via the online audio or phone, you may also submit comments to the moderator via the virtual meeting chat function during the public comment period only, when announced by the chairman. To do this, click on the chat icon and type your message. When prompted, the moderator will read comments and questions into the record. Members of the public recognized by the chair are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record and then provide their comment. Prior to concluding opportunities for public comment, the chair will ask one last time if anyone wishes to speak or give additional comment. I will now hand the meeting back over to the board.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And before we start with the agenda, I just want to note that we have had a very long-standing and wonderfully participant member of our board unfortunately decide to retire. That's Tom Nicanello, who has been nothing but a joy to work with as long as I've been on this board and worked with him. This is the only board I've worked with him, but you know, he's worked all over the town and many different matters, and sometimes has acted as a videographer. We'll miss him tremendously. Hope he goes on to wonderful things as he goes forward. We have 5 matters on our agenda this evening. They are petitions 4860 through 4864. In this instance, we're going to take 4864 out of order as just a courtesy to the participants. 4864 is a petition by TIMAC Corporation dealing with property located at 14 Angus Avenue in South Yarmouth. That property is located in a zoning district R25. This evening, our applicant seeks a special permit under zoning bylaw 104.3.2 subparagraph 2 to raise and replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling with a new, less non-conforming single-family dwelling. Is there someone appearing for the petitioner? If so, please unmute yourself or let the moderator know.
Mr. Chairman, Kieran Healy, representing the owner of the property, Timac Corporation. I believe also Marie Karen is on the line.
Could we invite Maria in as well? Thank you.
Her mic is muted, Mr. Chairman. I think
That's
she
on
needs to-
her end, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's- okay, there she's
there
in.
you go. All right, so it's wonderful to see you virtually via an iPhone there, Ms. Karen, and obviously, Mr. Healy, you certainly know we're always delighted to see you. So who's going to present this particular petition?
Okay, I can start speaking. My name's Marie Karen.
No, you feel free. Go right ahead, Marie.
Okay, you explained it well, as I'm looking to raise and replace an existing non-conforming dwelling to a less non-conforming dwelling, and that is for a special permit only.
Okay. And would you tell perhaps the audience where precisely the house is located and the like?
Okay, it is at 14 Angus, and that's crossroad of Route 28.
Right. And what's on it now, please?
It is a very old, non-conforming, dilapidated house,
Single family?
single family.
All right, good. Mr. Healy, are you going to add anything or?
I will. It's currently it's a single-family residence where it is too close to the current northerly sideline. The new structure will move subtly to increase the setback to the northerly line, and the southerly line will meet the current setbacks. There will be a new septic system provided in the back of the property, and new deck area. The septic will be a septic mound, and the building itself is conforming to lot coverage. The building and deck make up about 21% of the property. Other than that, Ms. Karen and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Let's start with Mr. Barron. Mr. Barron, do you have any questions of our petitioner or her representative?
No, but it's really a small lot. The condition of the existing building warrants a change, and after that, I have nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martin, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's a good use of a rundown property it's time for that to have a new house on it. And I think this is a good proposal.
Good. Mr. Igo, do you have any questions about petitioner?
I just have one question. I received the information. I didn't see an actual house. Do we have a drawing of the house that's going to be on the property?
Ms. Moderator, could you post that perhaps?
Hang on one moment. I don't believe they submitted anything that showed the house itself.
Well, I have
We did, yep.
drawings of it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, your package don't have drawings.
I don't have the physical package. I'll tell you what, if others have seen the house and it looks fine, I'll just take the representation of the board that the house is fine. I'm sure it is. I just wanted to see what it was. I can see the foundation. I think it's a reasonable request. I agree with Tom that the lot certainly needs to be upgraded and redeveloped. So I do think that what they're suggesting to go on the lot is certainly the highest and best use of the property. So I would be in favor of the petition. Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, thank you. Well, there were plans, renderings provided to us. I don't know. Oh no, there he is. I don't know who drafted these. Did you, Mr. Healy?
Yes.
So this is the BS Group's.
No, this is Kieran Healy. Joint
Okay.
BSC Group
You-
Review Special.
All right. Do you usually put your name on plans though?
The client, this was prepared for Marie Karen, and with her aid, it was prepared with her aid. So.
All right. Well, the reason I ask is because I just would, often we want to identify these plans in a decision. and these are uncredited. They do consist of sheet 1 of 9, 2 of 9, 3 of 9, 4 of 9. I'm going through this process because I don't have all the sheets. 4 of 9, 7 of 9, and then a site plan. It's not a stamped site plan, it's a site plan. My questions to you, Mr. Healy, are how do we get to the elevation of 29, 20, I mean,
On page 5, which I hope you have, that wasn't one of the ones you mentioned.
yeah.
On
Yeah,
page 5, page 5, there is a cross section. But if we go to page 4, which I
Yes,
believe you
page
have,
4.
you'll see a 29.4 inch height on the left-hand side. The bottom of that line lines up with the street elevation, and the top is to the ridge. So that 29 feet 4 inches is from the street elevation to the ridge, which is more than 5 feet less than the allowed by zoning.
Very good. I was just in measuring it with my tape measure earlier. From one of the side profiles, it came out to 32.5, but that's because there was no grade there shown on it. So I would want to identify that it will be built in conformity with the height as depicted on sheet 4 of 9 of a document entitled Right Elevation 14 Angus Avenue in West Yarmouth, dated June 15, 2020, and prepared for Marie Karen. That was my only concern, was whether or not where you were taking the elevation from. I accept your representation. So at this point, we now ask the public if there's any member that would like to speak either in favor or against this petition. And we do so by calling to the attention of the town planner, please, by raising your hand, town moderator, excuse me, and anybody that would like to speak in favor of the petition.
No one has their hand raised.
And anyone that would like to now speak in opposition to the petition.
Again, no one has their hand raised.
Okay, no,
No one.
and there's no correspondence about it either. I don't know. I don't think it takes a lot of discussion, does it? It's a wonderful new addition to the town. It's going to raise our tax base. We're always happy for that. Anybody want to think about a motion, or do you want to open it up to some discussion before we proceed to a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Dick Martin, I will move petition 4864 as requested
Second,
approve petition 4864 as requested.
All right, and second,
second,
who said that?
Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I wonder if on that you would allow me to reference that one in the decision, that one condition I suggested, that plan that I referenced, sheet 4 of 9, that it be built in conformity with that as to height.
Yes, I'm fine with that. Add that condition.
I agree.
Thank you, both of you, gentlemen. Anybody care to have discussion before moving it along to a vote concerning the motion made and the second? Hearing none, we'll now take a roll call vote. Mr. Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Igo,
Aye.
Mr. DeYoung, Chairman DeYoung says aye for the record. And so therefore it has passed on a 4-0 vote. As I must tell you all, even though you may be aware of it, a decision will be drafted. It will be filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse before that special permit is considered subject to a recordation in Barnstable Registry of Deeds. That is the second step, and that second step, once done, Proof of that recordation will be returned to our board. Good evening, Ms. Clark. Good to see you.
Evening. Sorry.
Oh, there's nothing to be sorry about. Don't you be silly. We're just delighted you're here.
Thank you.
Okay. So we now come to those. Thank you, Ms. Karen, as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. Always
Mr.
good to
Chairman,
see the both
thank you,
of us.
members.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so we now go to petitions 4860, 4861, 4862, 4863. And who's presenting for these petitions this evening, please?
Person could raise their hand. I can promote them to panelists. Okay. Thank you. One moment.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Sir, before proceeding with your petitions, I wonder, is there anything uniquely dissimilar about 460 through 463 other than property locations?
No, they're substantially similar. The canister antennas are have slightly different dimensions on some of the locations, but otherwise they're substantially similar.
All right, so why does anybody object to considering all four, certainly by separate votes? We'll do separate votes. But if you could speak to the generalities of all four and then go on to the specific locations, that would be helpful. Would that be all right with board members?
That's
So we
fine.
don't have to hear four of the same presentations concerning the exact same facts.
Yeah, and we're quite familiar with these requests as well, so it's not really the first time that we've heard these.
And it's good to see you, Mr. Klasnick. Good to see you.
Thank
So why don't you go right ahead and tell us about the petitions?
Well, first of all, once again, good evening. My name is Dan Klasnick. I'm the attorney. I'm representing Verizon Wireless, and we appreciate the opportunity to meet remotely with this board to review our proposal to continue to provide improved wireless service to the town of Yarmouth through the installation of 4 small cell attachments. Also attending and available this evening, Ralph Colarusso. He's the site acquisition consultant, and Thija Velamapala, the RF engineer. As has already been indicated by one of the members, I certainly appreciate that this board is familiar with small cells, having seen these applications before and having actually approved 2 of these locations previously. So the board certainly understands that the entire industry is really endeavoring to address what we've seen as an exponential demand in wireless service. And I guess I like to sort of analogize a little bit. You know, it's sort of like a highway. A network can only handle so much volume. I know we've all been sitting in traffic, perhaps not as much recently, and just looked over and said, I wish we could add more lanes somehow. Well, what we're trying to do is add a little more capacity to accommodate necessary network requirements. And I think Verizon Wireless, by adopting something that allows them to utilize the existing utility infrastructure to add that additional capacity, is really taking a creative approach. For the purposes of the review and in compliance with the town of Yarmouth bylaws, which encourages, I think, co-location, an application for a special permit pursuant to section 408 with requested waivers was filed with the town. We included your application form, I think a fairly or a detailed narrative where we illustrate compliance with the applicable special permit standards, a letter of authorization from Eversource, a set of detailed stamped plans, an affidavit from Verizon Wireless's RF engineer, a statement of radio frequency exposure compliance, FCC license, and we included a building commissioner site plan waiver in there, as well as an email. And then for the 2 of the locations that had previously been approved by the board, and we included a copy of the actual physical decision. As I sort of alluded to at the beginning, and as the plans depict, the small cell will involve the installation of just a single canister antenna, some remote radio heads that are mounted to the side, fiber, DC converter, and at the lowest appurtenance is the electric meter. This is required by Eversource to record the electrical usage of the equipment itself. So I think the size and unique design allows Verizon Wireless really to strategically deploy these sites while mitigating visual impact. And I wanted to stress there's no ground disturbance or ground equipment in any of these locations. The pole mount is tied into the electric service overhead and also the fiber.
Okay, why don't we go then location by location, tell us by the way, welcome to the two gentlemen that are appearing with you. They're before us often and we're always happy to see them. I don't think we have to make them panelists at this time, but if we do need to call upon them, we certainly will. But why don't you tell us now each petition, each location and what the sort of antenna will be?
Yes, going in the order that they appear on the agenda. The first site, which Verizon Wireless designates in the plans you should have, are for Yarmouth Small Cell 06. That's located down by the beach area. I think it's Smuggler's Cove, perhaps, near 329 South Shore Drive is the address that we've designated for that particular location. What we're going to do in this particular install is the utility pole has already been replaced by the pole owner. So that's been completed. And what Verizon Wireless will be doing is just installing a single, as I said, and you look at the plans at sheet LE2, it depicts an elevation photo detail on the left and then an elevation schematic on the right. And what we will be doing at this location is deploying that single canister antenna. It's a 14-inch diameter by 35.4-inch high canister antenna. In this particular location, it will be mounted on top of the utility pole at an overall height of 39.3 feet. As I had outlined in my presentation, in addition to the canister antenna, there's some cabling fiber installation. The remote radio heads are those boxes that are depicted on the plans. And then further down, some additional electrical equipment. And then finally, as the lowest appurtenant at least 8 feet above ground level will be the electric meter. So this is a location as I've described. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if we need any more detail or if you're comfortable with that description.
I think we all have, does everybody have the depiction that we've been provided in the packets? Okay, so, you know, it's pretty straightforward. But what I am interested in is you've asked for several waivers as well. Could you identify those if the site specific? If they're not site specific, we can deal with the waivers at the end, but we will take everyone individually, of course.
Yeah, the waivers are collectively the same because, as the chair has noted, these are substantially similar installations.
Okay.
Wait till we
Why don't we go on? I'm sorry, does anybody have any questions of our petitioner with respect to petition number 460? We'll start with Mr. Martin, please. Any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Barron?
I have no question as to the specifics of the proposal, but there is a similar cell phone repeater a little bit more than 1,000 feet down to the west at 302 South Shore Drive, which I thought was originally a previous Cellco installation. I mean, at least it is very close to what had been petitioned before. But that would Mr. Klasnick comment on that, please?
I don't specifically know whether that is a Verizon Wireless installation, but I will say that in deploying these facilities, Verizon Wireless is just constantly reevaluating the network. As I had said at the beginning of my presentation, there's a continuing demand for network requirements. So that we're finding, even if we have deployed a small cell to try and offload the existing macro sites, it may very well be necessary to come back in and install an additional location, particularly in areas like this where you have such high usage at the beach area and that parking lot and the surrounding hotels and just the nature of the roadway there. If you sort of look at it, it looks like there's kind of a dramatic curve. These are line of sight devices, so it could very well be necessary to address that. But I can't speak to there are other wireless service providers who are deploying similar installations, and that very well could be a different wireless provider.
Yeah, I thought the previous one was also a Celco proposal. I do agree that the new pole that you're going to take advantage of gives you a perfect opportunity because it's bare. It has no encumbering cross tees and lots of extra wiring, etc. So it's a perfect location for that. That's the end of my comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barron. Mr. Igo?
No comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll just say, I don't live far from that location, and any improvement you can give to that area for cell phone usage is greatly appreciated because we still are apparently living in the 1990s where in some spots in the tiny island. Is this going to assist or facilitate 5G?
These locations and the equipment that's proposed are 4G.
Won't you have to be coming back in the near future when your whole system goes to 5G?
As far as the network design, I mean, as outside counsel, I'm not privy to a lot of the conversations, obviously, but I think the idea is to build on both networks, and both will be necessary for a period.
Okay. All right. Why don't we go to the next location, please? Petition 54. I'm tongue-tied. 5861, please.
Okay, I believe that's the location that Verizon Wireless designates as Yarmouth Small Cell 15, located in proximity to 326 Station Avenue. It's very similar to the previous one, with the exception that because of the existing utility infrastructure that's on this particular utility pole, Verizon Wireless is proposing to side mount the antenna as opposed to top mount it. I'm sure as this board is aware, as a wireless service provider, Verizon Wireless is entitled to non-discriminatory access to any of these, but we have to take, and the utility takes into consideration the existing utility infrastructure. So they dictate as far as proximity to primary and secondary power and that sort of thing. So at this particular location, because of the existing infrastructure, and even though the pole has already been replaced, it's necessary to side mount the antenna onto the utility pole, and you know, similar to a transformer.
That Barbara's, who's Lee?
Mr. Igo?
Barbara's husband?
Mike, Mr. Igo, your mic is on.
I
Go
beg
ahead,
you,
sir.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman.
That's quite all right. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, as I was saying, this is just a side mounted as opposed, it's the same idea of a canister style antenna mounted on a bracket with the, if you look at, once again, it's sheet LE2. On the left is the pictorial depiction. On the right is the schematic depiction. It will have that same type of equipment further down, which includes the remote radio heads, which is just the radios that process the signal, the electrical, the wiring, and then once again, as the lowest appurtenance will be the electric meter. So it's substantially different. I mean, substantially similar to the previous location.
And you're looking for the same waivers on this as well?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Martin, do you have any questions concerning this petition?
Nope, not really. We've seen them before. They're all pretty similar.
Mr. Igo?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Barron?
Because we've seen these type of applications before, this site was one of almost a dozen that over many months we had previously looked at, and I was monitoring the placement of those ever since the original petitions. And I had noted that this was missing from all of those previous applications. And I'm glad to see that it's come back in. I understand the utility interface has probably been a factor in delaying the original installation that was applied for. I do have one comment on the application. There is a flaw in the response to the line for the APD, the Aqueduct Protection District. This area is within the APD, and it's been represented as not being there. It's a minor thing and not enough to preclude the application, but in terms of accuracy, the APD should be positively noted.
My apologies for that oversight.
That's why why we're so lucky to have Mr. Barron on our side. Anything else, Tom?
No.
All right, I have a question, please, just for my own understanding. I go to photo detail number 1.
Okay,
Do you have that?
yes, I believe so.
Am I looking at, this is a replacement pole that will be going in, and that's the depiction of the new location and height?
Yes, that's correct, but just to clarify, the utility pole has already been replaced?
Okay, so this is the picture of it as before, in terms of its height?
Yes, we're just trying to graphically show that what would be existing and then what would have been, what is.
All right, very good. How about 486, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Does anyone in our audience care to speak in favor or against this petition? If so, please raise your hand electronically so that a town moderator may know who you are.
No one has their hand raised. There is someone on the phone. If they wish to raise their hand, they have to do *9. I don't see any hands raised.
Thank you. So with that, we'll close it to the public commentary or comment rather on the petition, and we'll, I think for brevity, just move on to 4862 and tell us where it is, what's different about it, and the like.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This location is in proximity to 23 East Main Street. Substantially similar to the previous location. The antenna, the canister antenna, is proposed to be side mounted to the utility pole at a height of 22 feet, 22.7 feet. Once again, the location of the antenna is in consideration of the utility pole requirements to not to be a certain distance from wires and cabling and the other aspects of the utility pole itself. Similar to the other ones, or the same as the other ones, the remote radio heads will be side mounted in a bracket on the side there. Additional wiring, cabling, and then once again, the electric meter as the lowest appurtenance at that height. So it's substantially almost identical to the previous ones. And once again, this utility pole once again has already been replaced. I know we're showing it as it was, but that's just for graphic.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Barron, any questions about petition?
No, but a similar comment. Here in the western part of town, a lot of people would not assume that the Aqueduct Protection District applies, but it does. And again, the same comment. It should be represented as being within the APD. I noticed the site is a brand new pole. The fact that it's going to a side mount when you've got a full clear top of the pole available, that's your choice, but it's site conditions or your own design people have made that choice. Other than that, no comment.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
No comment.
Mr. Igo?
Just a question. We are talking about waivers, and I'm not able to pull that up on my screen right now. What are the particular waivers that you're looking for, Council?
I wonder if I could, Mr. Igo.
You want to save that to the end?
Yeah, suggest that
Okay.
we do petition 4863. And
Okay.
then unless there is a difference in waivers, and when we started this, I think council indicated that waivers were all the same. Am I right?
That's correct. That's
All
correct.
right, so you
Yeah,
can
okay.
identify the waivers then.
Yeah,
All right, if
no
we could-
questions. No questions at this time.
And I have
Thank you.
no question. Petition 4863, could you tell us about the location and how they're dissimilar or similar to the last that we've been talking about?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This particular location is actually located on Forest Road. We use the address of 34 Captain Simmons Road as the property that was in closest proximity, but the utility pole itself is located on Forest Road. Once again, this is an existing utility pole that Verizon Wireless will be attaching its canister style antenna. The top height on the side, it's side mounted again because of the existing infrastructure, the primary and secondary power lines. The overall height of the antenna at the top height will be 22 feet. Once again, we'll be locating those remote radio heads further down within a bracket, and then the cabling, wiring, and once again, the electric meter as the lowest appurtenance. So it's identical or substantially similar to the previous locations.
All right, if you could now perhaps, well, why don't we go through the board? Mr. Martin, any questions on this petition?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Igo,
None. Thank you.
Mr. Barron?
No questions. New pole makes a perfect installation possible. Similar comment. It on the APD. This is definitely within the APD. There's two town wells just a short distance north of this location. So again, the APD should have been positively noted. Other than that, no comment.
That's true, Mr. Barron, particularly since they have to specifically check either yay or nay, yes or no. And no's have been checked on all of them. So I think that would be, for future reference, it would be good to properly notify all of us as to where you are putting these poles, if it relates to the APD, which we're very sensitive of here, of course. Now, sir, could you articulate the waivers that you're seeking on all four?
Yes, in compliance with your bylaws, as this board is aware, this board has authority to grant waivers. And I think in the past, based upon my review, these were waivers that the board deemed to be appropriate for small cell installations, where many of the requirements of your bylaw, I think, were focused more towards macro, larger sites. So perhaps not as applicable in these situations. The first waiver that we noted was from 408.6.2.5, which relates to the requirements to provide a town-wide map of existing personal wireless service facilities. The second waiver related to 408.6.2.6, which is also a town-wide map of proposed personal wireless facilities. And then in addition, we requested a waiver from 408.6.3, which deals with sightline elevations and other details that I believe were intended more to deal with a proposed telecommunications tower, where those visual aspects would be of, particular concern. And then I noted in one of your prior decisions that you did grant a waiver from 408.12.3, which deals with discontinuances of use and posting of a removal bond.
Well, we're always, whenever we do one thing in the past, it's always brought to our attention in the future. So it's 412 what, please?
4.3. I think what it deals with is the town going in and physically removing the equipment. Seemed to me like it was a discretionary, but I noted it in the prior decision, so I just thought to bring it to the board's attention. I don't know that I think it's something that's necessarily necessary, because it seems as if it's a discretionary.
I'm sorry to ask you to do this, but could you tell me which the site again that you want a waiver on?
Now, let me make sure.
I mean, the physical site.
It's 408.12.3. I have my notes. Let me check to make sure I'm not giving you the incorrect information, because I've been.
No, that's the correct section of the bylaw, Council.
Oh, thank you. And it deals with, there are other sections that deal with abandonment and removal. And this one particularly deals with the town going in and physically removing the facility, and the board's discretion to acquire a removal bond, I guess.
All right, does anybody on the board have any questions as to the waivers being requested? And if you just raise your hand, I'll call on you right away. I think they're all pretty straightforward, and they're all suggested or requested in every one of these pole antennas. So I don't think you're going to find a lot of opposition on those.
I think perhaps maybe we could make a note, if it would be the representation of the petitioner, that if they discontinue it, they'll remove it without the necessity of a bond being posted. But if counsel for the petitioner tonight makes a representation that Verizon at any time is going to abandon the use or abandon the tower, that they agree to remove it. Is that something you could represent?
Yes.
Tonight to us?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
And of course,
I think they do it anyway, but
Of course, counsel, in your draft decision, I'd like you to note that representation, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So anybody else, does anybody else have any questions about the waivers requested? I have none. And we now move it along to the public commentary, if any, as to the waiver request. And if anyone wishes to speak to those, would you please raise your hand so that our moderator can identify you?
No one has their hand raised.
Thank you very much. We'll start with 4860. Is anybody prepared to make a motion on 4860?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request of the petition as requested with no conditions. Oh, the only condition would be the one that we just said, that in the, and I don't even know that that's a condition, but that they just agree to, upon any cease of use or discontinuance of the cell tower, that they agree to remove it.
Or at least the equipment.
At least the equipment, yeah.
I mean, these are also transmission lines, so.
Right, that's all, yeah. It would.
All right, so the motion's made. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. The board care to have any discussion before moving that motion along for a vote?
The only discussion that I would have is I do believe that they meet the criteria under section 408, that the waivers that we are granting them tonight don't derogate from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. And any detriment would certainly be outweighed by a benefit to the town by improving the cellular tower for all the citizens in the town.
I think it also meets the intended purpose behind even requiring a special permit under 408. Yeah, as we've always looked at these, it's always been, we're helping the town, we're helping everybody that has a cell phone, so let's go with it. All right, we've made a motion by Mr. Igo, a motion's been made by Mr. Igo, seconded by Mr. Martin. Any other discussion by the board? Hearing none, all those in favor of, I'm sorry, we'll take it by roll call. Mr. Barron, your vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Igo?
Aye.
Mr. DeYoung, yes, I say aye as well. That's a 4-0 vote. Let's move it along to the next one. 4861. Anybody prepared to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who moved it? I'm sorry, Dick, I know seconded. Who
Yeah.
moved?
I
Was
I
did.
second it.
Did Mr. Barron move?
No.
No,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Igo did.
I
I
just-
made the motion. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't looking at the time. I apologize. All right, Mr. Martin, seconds. Okay, we can just go right through this. Do we need or require any commentary or question or discussion before moving it along?
Similar
so,
to the last one.
Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. I also, we like to see that the reference to the special permit criteria being made. Certainly, we all agree that there is here, but please note that in your decision too, sir, okay?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of the motion made by Mr. Igo, seconded by Mr. Martin, please. I'm gonna get this right one time, I'm telling you. These
I
are new days and new requirements thrust upon us. I'm not liking them all. Mr. Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Igo,
Aye.
DeYoung says aye. For our board secretary, who's sitting down there on the bottom of my screen. Good to see you, Sandy. Okay, so it's a 4-0 vote. Let's go to 4862. Anybody prepared to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do it.
I don't know if you're doing that to me on purpose, all of you, but every time I look down, somebody talks. All right. On the motion made by Mr. Barron, seconded by Mr. Martin, does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote?
Only that they've met the criteria under the bylaw as previously discussed.
Agreed.
I take that as a blanket on each one as the decisions are drafted for review. Okay, sir? Okay, counsel?
Yes, of course.
All right. On that motion made by Mr. Barron, seconded by Mr. Martin. Mr. Barron, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Martin, your vote.
Aye.
Mr. Igo, your vote.
Aye.
And DeYoung says aye. I got it right that time at least. Yeah. I'm learning, guys. Thank you for your efforts
Sort
in
of.
teaching me. 4863 is our last petition. Anybody prepared to make a motion on 4863?
So moved. Same conditions.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Anybody care to have any discussion on the motion made? Then moving it along, let's have a roll call vote of Mr. Igo. We'll start with you.
Aye.
Mr. Martin
Aye.
and Mr. Barron.
Aye.
DeYoung says aye as well for the notes. And so that carries 4-0. We will need to see the waivers identified and articulated in each decision. We will need to see references to the meeting of the special permit criteria, which this board has found has occurred in each and every one of these petitions. And so when you send those to me, I assure you I will review them very quickly. They go to the board secretary and then they will be returned, sent over to me for review. Once the decisions are final, they will be filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must then elapse before it's considered granted. That's a technical waiting period, as you know. Assume there be no appeal, you would then bring the special permits to Barnstable Registry of Deeds, record them and return proof that they've been recorded to our board secretary. Any questions of that, sir?
No, I just wanted to thank the board very much, and particularly thank Sandy for all her guidance. You guys have such a wonderful person working there, and I just wanted to make certain to sing her
You
praises.
know, that's so good. I hope the
Thank you.
people that give raises are listening.
I wish I
She
could.
makes us all look good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. I'm sorry.
you.
Mr. Chairman, I have one comment. Mr. Klasnick, I've referred earlier that we've seen other applications at different sites within the town, and one that I've been monitoring and hoping to see is at 701 to 703 Route 28. It's right on Route 28. It's right next to Parker River. There has been a lot of comment that the drive-in site, which we have had some rather success with active activity over this past summer, and hopefully for the future. There's been comment that the cell phone area, that area is devoid of good cell phone coverage. And the location at 701 and 703 Route 28 was a previous application, and I think it was by Celco. And I would, if you still have that in your back pocket somewhere, that it would be very pleasantly received by the town to see that come forward as a new petition.
Thank you
Thank you
very much,
very
Mr. Barron, for those comments. I'll be certain to pass that on to my client, and I'm not familiar with that location, but I will make inquiries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Barron, for your thoughtful request. Anybody prepared to move to adjourn?
So moved.
And does anybody second?
Second,
Mr. Barron,
second,
Aye. I understand. Mr. Barron, aye.
aye.
Mr. Martin, aye.
Aye.
Mr. Igo, aye.
Nay.
Mr. DeYoung says aye. Well, you know, we're going to have to sit here for a while then. I think it might be
change my-
wise to
I'll
change it.
change my vote to aye. Okay, we can.
All right, fair enough. We're not trying to muscle you into a 4-0 vote, but 3-0, 3-1 dies. Hey, good talking to everybody. Thank you for your efforts. and
Same here.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Everybody have a
Everybody
good
take
night.
care.
Guys.
Look forward to seeing you in the near future. Thank you, sir, and safe trip home.
Thank you.
Oh, you're at your office. What am I talking about?
I know, it's one of the benefits of being able to do this virtually, right?
Well, thank you. You did a great job presenting. And with that, good night.
Good night. Thanks
Good
again.
night.
Bye-bye.